Hi everyone, this is Shweta Kannan. I am a yoga therapist supporting women heal their relationships and also in their perinatal journey. Yesterday, I made a video about um, my professional journey with yoga therapy, combined with my personal experiences along the way. And I said that I will be talking more about how the coach launching program. Um, I got disillusioned by it. But before we go there, I wanted to set the context and share how I got into it in the first place. Um, because I was journaling ahead of this video, and that's what came about. And I was also reflecting on why am I talking again about the coach launch programs and gurus out there. It's because the idea hasn't left me. So I'm currently listening to an audiobook called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And she talks about how the creators are just mere vessels and ideas have their will of their own. And they kind of, they just want to bring their ideas to fruition. So they identify people and they just travel with them, encourage them, give them inspiration to bring them to light. But after they may hang out for years or months or days, like there is no sense of time. um, and if they get the feeling that the creator is not ready or is not going to be successful in bringing the ideas out, they move on to another person. And she recounts her personal experiences um, that that is quite interesting in the book. So anyway, so I feel that even though I had done a detailed video about this when I investigated Jay Shetty back 3 months back, um, I'm having to revisit it because the idea keeps presenting itself to me. So there is still something that's not fully said, and I feel the idea has come to me to wake up more people, to understand how this coaching industry works. Um, and before all that, I just wanted to share the background of how I got into it in the first place. Um, so, as I told, I got my yoga therapy certification in 2018, 2019. Um, and 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 for a while, 2018, I think, for 2019, I was trying to talk about it, get myself out there. But then it was quite difficult because people didn't understand what yoga therapy is. They would latch on to the word yoga, and they will be like, oh, I know yoga, I've taken a yoga class. But yoga therapy is so much more deeper. It's yoga done with the actual intent of yoga. The word yoga means union, right? The union of the mind, body, spirit. And that's what is achieved in a yoga therapy session, and yoga class. And yoga is supposed to be done one on one. That's what the great guru Krishnamacharya used to say. And that's why I decided, when I heard that back in 2016, when I had quit my job, is when I decided. when I heard the statement that Krishnamacharya used to believe that it has to be taught one on one and not in a classroom setting, that's when I decided that I wanted to pursue and become a yoga therapist so that I can facilitate one on one yoga therapy sessions. Um, so I was trying to launch, and then meanwhile I got distracted with having children and all that and raising them. um so um I had like a business, but not much activity going on, as I was busy with my kids and stuff. um as I said, in 2000, in the fall of 2024, when I had just come out of the postpartum depression, um, it became really ugly between myself and my husband. We were nearing, we were little over 9 years of my into marriage. So a lot of history, lot of issues, unresolved issues have come to the surface, and there was a huge disconnect between the two of us, and lot of history and hurt were weighing down on us. And when you know we came to a breaking point, and even before we reached the breaking point, there were a lot of hurtful remarks that was said and all that. And I felt the need to prove myself, and I was scrolling something online. uh, I was not using social media for a long time, and I had been on social media, and then I came across this coach launching program, um, in which they were giving a 5-day free workshop, in which they will teach to the business mindset to um, get yourself out there. And I was like, okay, it's free, and I don't use social media, and suddenly I'm here. What are the chances of, this is not a coincidence, this is meant to be, and all that stuff. So I attended the workshop, um, and then when I heard the replays, because of the vulnerable state I was in, I started getting all in into it, because the promise of the program, it's a high premium program. I had to pay like 10 grand, $10,000 to get into the program. The guarantee of the program is to get me to a point where I will be earning more than my husband in just 3 months. So going from zero to earning more than my husband in just 3 months. Um, and mind you, my husband works in the IT industry, and he's managing 15 people. So but I have a very rational upbringing, and I've been very careful with money. But still, the hurt was so deep, and I had a strong conviction that I have the skills, and I don't know the way to take it to people. Um, so, so, um, that's why I decided. No, I hadn't even decided. So I was thinking about it. And then there was like a phone call with the salesperson. And the way they spoke, and they built up the dream that I was going to, once I join the program, it's going to be so easy to get there, and I can reach my financial goal and prove my worth to my husband. Um, so I did what any self-respecting woman would do. I took 10K out of my dwindling savings from back when I used to be a semiconductor engineer. I invested in the program. As soon as I entered the program, our marriage reached a breaking point, and I asked him to leave the house. And I was talking endlessly about this personal problem between the two of us, with my growing inner circle. So, I would just add more and more people to my inner circle because it was not enough just talking to my sister, to this friend, that friend. And it was just like, and the friends would grow tired of hearing all the details. And a friend suggested, oh, have you heard about Jimmy on relationships? So I followed him for a little bit. He's a guy who talks about narcissism on YouTube. Then another one told me about Dr. Ramani. I following these two people just got me really, really angry and wired up against like narcissism. And, I started believing that he's a narcissist and there is no way out. He wouldn't change and all that stuff. Like when you start following these people who are talking about narcissism, it's not all that supportive. It's just like it's there is no hope there. You just like, oh, keep validating, yourself and all that. And then what? There is no next step. The next step they will say is go no contact. um anyway, so that's where it was. And as I was hanging out there in that space, um it became too much. It became too much. I swung so far out of my truth, which is one of my core values is to be, connected to the truth. I'm a truth seeker, truth teller. Truth is a very strong value of mine. And um, when I started speculating too much and the speculation was too far away from the truth, I swung so far away from my husband and I swung back to him. So I reached out to him. We cried, connected. I invited him back. Um, we were happy that night that we came back together as a family. Um, but for the next 1.5 months, we were not in talking terms. And I realized that, oh my God, this is not going to work. The same patterns are repeating. Nothing is going to change. And there's no solution, there's no healing that can happen. And that's when I felt very sure that, exit is the only way. But I didn't know how. It was easy to stay in it, keep fuming, keep calling him narcissist. But what is the next step? Um, so that's when I had my yoga therapy session. The beauty about yoga therapy session is, compared to any other therapy session, like I'm just comparing with psychotherapy, where you're just connecting with your mind. And talking with a therapist who only looks at the clock. They, I don't know if you've gone to a psychotherapist. They always have the clock up front, right? So it ends on time or 5 minutes before. It's all about that. And more than the time limitation, it's it only involves the mind, which we are all over identified with. Just thinking about a problem, thinking your way out of a problem, is not what we are designed for. Um, we human beings, we have five koshas, five sheaths. These are yogic terms, but we have five aspects to ourself. We have our physical body. we have our breath body, and then we have the, the emotional body, and then the intellect, and then there is this inner higher self, and the which has the connection to the truth at all times. It's your consciousness, and it's connected to the universal consciousness. um Anyway, so we have all these layers, and we spend most of our time over identified with our mind. And the key to reaching your inner wisdom or the truth is to connect with each of these layers. Because the key, like, how it is, how it was explained to me once by Jennifer, the teacher Jennifer at Kripalu, how yoga nidra works is that Yoga Nidra is a form of passive meditation where you lie down and relax and listen to a track, where they progressively take you through each of these layers to get into the innermost layer. So yoga therapy works similarly. Yoga itself works like that. So where you connect with each of your layers. You start with the physical, the grossest. So these five layers, starting from the physical to the innermost self, starts from the grossest to the subtlest. So you start with what is accessible, moving your body, and then that helps you come out of the mind and identify, oh yeah, I have a body too, and then there are sensations too, I can connect with them too. Um, and then and then as you do that, the body feels acknowledged and opens, like, opens the next layer, the awareness to the next layer. Like, basically the body kind of quiets down, and you're able to see the, feel and connect with the subtler sensations that happens in the next layer. So then you get to feel your breath, you feel your energetic body, and then as you stay connected with your physical and the breath layer, and then you connect with, your emotions too, your mind too. Your mind has a place. And then so there is, in yoga therapy, we don't just do yoga poses. We, as practitioners, we interact with the clients and ask them what their experiences, what they are connecting with moment to moment. So there is a piece of psychotherapy, pure tech dialoguing involved. So the mind is also involved, but it's not just the mind. Um, and then and then we don't let the client just keep talking endlessly. We bring the, client back to the state of connection with all aspects of their self, and then kind of take them towards those subtler layers where they become the intellect watching themselves. And they identify with their intellect, and then they go through a meditation. At the end of it, the wisdom just pops out. Um, and so so that's how yoga therapy session flows. So I had my yoga therapy session then, back in beginning of 2025, when I was going through the storm in my marriage, where I was sitting with the decision to end a marriage. It was pointing towards that direction. And I had my yoga therapy session to get more clarity on my next steps. And by the end of the session, when I was all connected deeply within myself, the message I heard was, be equanimous. Equanimous is a word we don't use, a lot, but this is the word that was introduced in my vocabulary by Goenka ji, who has been teaching Vipassana. Yes. established a lot of Vipassana centers around the world. So back in 2012, I had done the Vipassana beginner retreat, and since then, tried many times to get established. And I don't have a regular Vipassana practice, um, but I have an intellectual understanding of the the need to be equanimous. The equanimous is that, when you have inputs, when you have, say something happens to you, a thought comes to you or a comment hits you, and you watch the habit pattern of the mind to classify it as pleasant or unpleasant, and then react to it. Instead, you just observe the stimulus and just try and be equanimous, meaning you don't react this way or that way, or you don't even internalize it as good or bad. Okay, so even mentally you don't think it, classify it as good or bad. That is equanimous, right? So so the integration from the session was to stay equanimous when I was in the storm, right? Um, our whole family has done Vipassana, thanks to me. But, when, if I had gone to my family and said, this is happening, and they said, you know, do Vipassana or be equanimous, I would have been like, "Ugh." I would have gotten really violent and lashed out at them. But since it had come from myself, um, and my calmer, gentler self, I had to listen. Every moment, um, I try to stay, equanimous. Um, I try to stay, equanimous. Right? Um, something opened up. The space opened up. The space shifted between my husband and I. His ego broke, and then he asked for a conversation in which we resolved a lot of things that we hadn't resolved in many years. And he pretty much said, I don't want to lose you. Let's try to resolve things and, do therapy and do the repair. And since then, we have been in repair. So I feel that since I haven't connected with you all for a while, I might put few more videos in more frequency until I, bring the idea to completion about what I want to convey about my experience going through a coach launching program. See you in the next one. Thank you.